Gabi sa Counterpoint, kikilalanin natin ang kalihim ng Departamento ng Turismo. Susuriin natin ang mga pagbabagong isinusulong niya upang mas mapalakas ang turismo ng bansa. Aalamin natin paano makakasabay ang bansa sa mga bagong trends sa travel and culture. At paano nga ba binago ng pandemya larangan ng industriya ng turismo. Ako si Salvador Salpanelo at ito ang Counterpoint. Kamakailan ay ipinagdiwang natin ang Araw ng Kalayan. We celebrated Independence Day. And every year, we always pay tribute to the heroes of yesteryears for rising up in revolt against foreign invaders. Palagi nating binibigyan ng parangal ang mga bayani ng ating laki nung sila'y nagalsa at nilabanan ng mga nananakop sa atin. Kaya taon-taon, maririnig natin ang kadakilaan nila, papuri sa kanila, at ang panawagan na ipagmalaki natin ang ginawa ng ating mga bayani. Pero alam po ninyo, ano nga ba ang tunay na kahulugan ng kalayaan? Ito ba'y limitado lamang sa kalayaan na ang isang bansa ay magtagumpay laban sa mga nananakop sa kanila? Hanggang doon na lang ba yun? Sapagkat sa aking pananaw, mukhang empty, parang may kulang ang pagdiriwang ng kalayaan kung hindi natin hahalukayin, titingnan natin ano ba ang tunay na kalayaan na dapat nating bigyan ng pansin. Habang totoo na tayo ay malaya sa pananakop ng mga dayuhan, tanungin natin ang ating mga sarili kung hanggang dun lang ba ang kalayaan? Hindi ba dapat tanungin natin ang sarili natin, tayo nga ba ay malaya sa lahat ng aspeto ng buhay? Malaya ba tayo sa kawalan ng edukasyon? Malaya ba tayo sa kahirapan? Malaya ba tayo sa katiwalian? Malaya ba tayo sa kriminalidad? Malaya na ba tayo sa terorismo? Malaya ba tayo sa droga? Malayo ba tayo sa mga kontra sa Estado? Sa totoo lang, hindi po tayo malaya. So ang kalayaan hanggat ang kahirapan, ang kawalan ng edukasyon, ang kriminalidad, ang drogang iligal, ang mga rebelde, mga terorista na riyan, hindi po tayo malaya. We have to be freed from this poverty, lack of education. Pati nga ho yung pabahay. Ilang milyon ba tayo? 110 million. Ilan lamang ang merong tinitirhan? Ilan ang may mga lupa? Ilan ang nakaapak sa eskwela? Sa 110 million na yan. So kailangan siguro ang ating pamahalaan at lahat ng administrasyon na darating ay bigyan po ng atensyon ang tunay na kalayaan dito sa mga kalakarang binanggit natin. Sapagkat hanggat po hindi natin tinatanggal, hanggat tayo'y mananatiling bilanggo sa kahirapan, sa katiwalian, sa kawalan ng karunungan dahil sa kawalan ng edukasyon, sa kriminalidad, sa katiwalian, sa terorismo, hindi po tayo tunay na malaya. Malaya lamang tayo sa pananakop. At baka, itong mga dakilang hero natin, mga kabayani natin, for all we know, pag sila'y nabuhay, sabihin sa atin, puro lang kayo papuri sa amin. Pero nakalimutan nyo, bakit ba ginawa namin to? Ginawa namin to para nga magkaroon tayo ng magandang buhay yung mga susunod na henerasyon sa amin. Kaya lang mukhang nakalimutan ninyo. Hindi namin kailangan ng papuri. Ang kailangan namin ay makita ang tunay na kalayaan sa lahat ng bagay na nagpapahirap sa sambayan ng Pilipino. Kaya siguro, yung pong pangkasalukuyang administrasyon at nagagalak naman tayo sapagkat sa talumpati ng Presidente Ferdinand Marcos Jr., sa talumpati ng Vice Presidente, sa talumpati rin ng Chief Justice, kaugnay dito sa pagdiriwang ng Independence Day, ay nabanggit po ito na matagal na nating ipinapahayag marami ng taon na in the words of President Marcos Jr., kailangan daw matanggal natin yung mga unfreedoms, yung mga binanggit ko sa inyo. Ganon din ito si Chief Justice Mundo. Sinabi niya rin na kailangan free tayo from poverty. Ganon din si Vice Presidente Inday Sara. Na kailangan yung pinaglaban ng mga bayani natin, hindi lamang susundin natin, isusulong, tutuparin, kundi dapat mas malawak pa, mas malalim pa upang maramdaman ng bawat Pilipino ang tunay na kalayaan, ang pag-unlad, ang pagkakaroon ng karunungan, ang pagkakaroon ng bubong, ang tamang pagkain, pananamit, ang lahat ng bagay na kailangan ng tao sa balat ng lupa. Pag yan po ay nagawa na natin, talagang tunay na meron tayong malayang bansa. At hindi na po masasabi na ang pagdiriwang natin ay limitado lamang doon sa pag-aklas natin at pagsira natin sa mga colonizers natin. Kundi tayo ay naging malaya sa lahat ng negatibong puwersa na nagpapahirap sa ating mga kababayan at nagiging dahilan kung bakit ang ating bansa ay hindi umuunlad. Mamaya sa pagbabalik ng Counterpoint, makakasama natin ang isang abogada, multi-awarded mayor at ngayon ay kalihim ng Department of Tourism. Walang iba kung hindi si Secretary Christina Garcia Frasco. Diyan lamang po kayo.
Hello mga ka-BO! Ako po si Julia Clarete.
Nag-relax kayo. Ayaw ko nga, pasok mo kayo. Magre-relax kasi siya eh.
Can you massage me?
Hindi kami nagpapatambay dito para lang magpa-aircon.
At iniimbitahan ko kayong manood sa Sabado, alas 8 ng gabi dahil ako naman ang Mang BBO. Oh no, it's Bira only!
Oh no! It's Biro only! September 25!
Kada! 5 days to go! 10 a.m. na kami! Kada umaga!
Magandang araw, magandang araw. Magandang araw, magandang araw. Magandang araw, magandang araw. Magandang araw, magandang araw.
Bossing, Poleng, and Tali. Ako po si Bong.
Tulungan ko na lang ako sa module ko. Ikaw na lang sa module. Lakasan mo pa, please. Number 3. May naisip ako eh. Gusto kong mag-apply ng trabaho. Pero ayoko magtrabaho.
Teka, nasa ba yung ano at mapunta ka na?
Teka lang, X ka lang.
Hindi, kikil ako eh, kikil.
Love, Bosleng, and Tali. Tuwing linggo, alas 6 ng gabi dito lang sa Net25.
Panalo tayo pag together, walang talo pag together. Let's get together sa Net25.
Ang ating guest ngayong gabi ay talagang beauty and brains. Dahil isang abogado na, may kasanayan pa ito sa international arbitration at commercial litigation. Multi-awarded mayor ng Liloan, Cebu. And under her leadership, her town of Liloan was awarded top model municipality in the Philippines and most resilient municipality in the country. Presidential Lingkod Bayan Regional Awardee rin po siya. And top performing mayor in Central Visayas. And tinalaga po siyang spokesperson o tagapagsalita ng Vice Presidente Sara Duterte noong panahon ng kampanya. Muli siyang nanalo sa pagka-mayor ng Liloan ng Cebu sa ikatlong pagkakataon. Subalit, syempre, nakita yung galing niya. So, nasilip siya ni Presidente Ferdinand Marcos, itinalaga siyang kalihim ng Departamento ng Turismo. Anak po siya ni Cebu Governor Gwendolyn Garcia at alam niyo naman, ang reputasyon ni Governor Gwendolyn Garcia, si Gwen, matindi ho ito. Kasing tapang ni Presidente Duterte at kasing di prinsipyo niya rin. Ito ho ang anak. At ito rin ho'y apo ng dating Cebu Governor at kinatawang Pablo Garcia. Walang iba kundi ang maganda, matalino, abogadang si Christina Garcia Frasco, ang Secretary ng Tourism Department.
First of all, thank you so much for the opportunity to be here and for your support for tourism.
Oh, our pleasure. As Secretary of Tourism, bigyan mo naman kami ng bird's eye view on your plans, your strategies. Kasi yung Department of Tourism, sensitive yan. Malaking may tutulong sa ating ekonomiya.
I've been working these past few months to fulfill the vision of our President, Ferdinand Bongbong Marcos Jr., to transform the tourism industry and the Philippines into a tourism powerhouse in Asia. Under the recently approved National Tourism Development Plan, we have identified 7 objectives for the Department of Tourism, not only to focus on promotion of the Philippines, which we will continue to do, but more importantly, to focus on product development, to address the essential pillars of tourism development that presently rank the Philippines not as high compared to its ASEAN neighbors. And this has to do with the elements of infrastructure, digitalization, connectivity, the enhancement of the overall tourist experience, strengthening our relationships here and abroad as far as tourism stakeholders are concerned, equalizing tourism opportunities across the regions of the Philippines, as well as diversifying our tourism portfolio so that we can ensure sustainable tourism. We're also focused on reintroducing the Philippines to the world.
Okay.
Not only on the aspect of fun, which it continues to be, but also to introduce the world to the Filipino story by way of our heritage, our culture, the diversity of our nation, as can be clearly gleaned from the work of our local communities, our artisans, our small and medium enterprises, our food, our heritage, and the like. There's so much more to get to know about the Philippines, and we are very excited under the Marcos administration to herald the best qualities of the Filipino.
And vis-a-vis these objectives that you mentioned, what programs have you created, crafted, that to be implemented, or have you implemented them?
First of all, very early on in his administration, President Marcos articulated that tourism is a priority. And that means taking a whole of government approach towards tourism development, which is why we have engaged in various collaborations with our fellow government agencies. On the aspect of infrastructure, we are in collaboration with the DPWH for purposes of ensuring that investment by government is made into the improvement of our tourism roads. On the aspect of connectivity, we have collaborated with the Department of Transportation for several aspects. First is the enhancement of our gateways. If you've been to NAIA Terminal 2 lately, then you may have noticed that the welcome is distinctly Filipino now, with improved aesthetics, furniture, the work of our local furniture makers from Luzon welcomes our guests. We are also enhancing gateways in our seaports as well as other airports across the Philippines. We also hope to be able to fully open up our secondary gateways to our regions to be able to inure direct flights to these destinations. And we have a routes development team that's specifically focused on pushing for the resumption of pre-pandemic flights as well as additional flights, both international and domestic. And we're very happy that our airline partners have been very receptive towards this end. On the aspect of connectivity, we have partnered with the DICT for the purpose of improving internet connectivity in no less than 94 destinations in the Philippines this year. And mid this year, we have already powered up 46 destinations across Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao through the DICT. And we're also very happy to let you know that we have launched the Bisita Be My Guest incentive program.
What's that?
This is an incentive program that aims to give our fellow Filipinos here and abroad, especially our overseas Filipino workers, with the opportunity to become tourism ambassadors for the Philippines. We are offering incentives. If you invite a foreign friend, guest, family, spouse, and the like to come to the Philippines, you simply have to register via our website, bbmg.philippines.travel, and then indicate who you are inviting. And then you will have an opportunity to win exciting prizes, including house and lot, condominiums, free airline tickets, and holiday destinations. We aim to be able to spark excitement about travel to the Philippines, especially in whom we perceive to be the best people to pitch for our country, and that is Filipinos here and abroad. By the end of this month, we are also launching the Philippine Experience. Our president has said that it's very important for us to let the world know about the Filipino identity. And that is very well safeguarded in our regions. That is why we are collaborating with our regional offices as well as our local government units to conduct heritage, culture, and arts caravans across our regions, wherein we will treat our tourists, international and local, to a 3-day tour that will include not only a visit to our beaches, our heritage sites, our nature-based destinations, but also, most importantly, allowing them to get to know the heart and soul of the Filipino, presenting to them the work of our local weaving communities, artisans, and the like, and they'll have opportunities to buy pasalubong as well. To target our jurisdictions from all over the world that experience a colder climate, we remind them that it's always summer in the Philippines. So we have overwintering packages that present various modalities for tourism. So we have food and gastronomy, health and wellness, medical tourism, and the like. And speaking of medical tourism, our delegation of the DOT just very successfully concluded our representation in Germany for the International Health and Wellness Tourism Congress, as we are strategically positioning the Philippines for medical and health and wellness tourism, especially to potential markets in the Middle East. In more good news, cruise tourism has come back in a very big way to the country. In the beginning of the year, we saw at least a 34% increase in the number of cruises coming to the country, as well as a number of islands visited by these international cruises. So at the beginning of the year, we had around 139 cruises in the cruise calendar across 46 destinations. And to further maximize the opportunities for the Philippines in this regard, since there is very high demand across the globe for our country as a cruise tourism destination, we are envisioning the Philippines to become a cruise tourism hub in Asia. And that's why we recently concluded a cruise convergence meeting with our fellow government agencies that include, among others, the Bureau of Immigration, Bureau of Quarantine, Bureau of Customs, and the DICT to see how we can further improve the openness of the Philippines for cruises. That also applies equally to our efforts for air transport into the country, which is why the effort at the beginning of the administration was to try to rationalize the pandemic era restrictions that needed to be adjusted and lifted so that we could make the Philippines as open as possible to travel and tourism.
Right now, do we have these local cruises?
There is a recent domestic provider to go that launched their Barkada cruises across the country. But the portfolio right now under the DOT is more of international cruises.
But these local cruises is not as many as we want it to be.
No, not at all, not yet. Domestic cruise tourism is one that holds massive potential in our archipelagic country. And that is why we feel that the focus should not only be on international cruising, but also domestic cruising. But of course, that requires improvement in our gateways and as well as improvement in marine transportation. So we're very hopeful that with a very clearly laid out plan as far as international and domestic cruising is concerned, then we would be able to build up this tourism product portfolio. We are presently working with both the Marina and the PPA for this purpose.
Now, earlier you spoke of Filipino identity. How would you like Filipinos to be known to other countries in the world?
Well, first of all, I think Filipinos are already very well known all over the world, especially in terms of our hospitality, our smiles, the love and compassion with which we treat our guests, and in many instances, the people that we work with, the people we serve, depending on the industry. And to fully capitalize on the best asset of Philippine tourism, and that is our Filipino tourism workers, we have embarked on the most ambitious goal of training no less than 100,000 Filipino tourism frontliners in the Filipino brand of service excellence, which teaches them the values of Filipino hospitality. In many surveys that have been conducted among foreign nationalities that visit the Philippines, they always indicate, to no fail, that the reason why they loved their visit to the Philippines was because of the people. And it's really this Filipino hospitality and the grace with which we treat others that we would like to make fully known to the world, as well as the diversity and the strength of our culture, which is firmly anchored on our heritage and our history.
Now, what challenges have you as Secretary of Tourism been confronted with?
Well, prior to becoming Tourism Secretary, I was a mayor in Liloan in Cebu. And as with my local government unit and many other LGUs all over the country, the number one challenge really is infrastructure and accessibility. And that I find to be a major challenge as well coming into the fold of tourism. According to the World Economic Forum, which surveyed 117 economies in 2021, the Philippines ranked 75th and very low in terms of infrastructure. And so I find that really the only way to be able to fully maximize the potential of our tourism destinations and their offerings and expand economic opportunity across the country is to address infrastructure. And that is why it ranks number one in our priority. And I'm very pleased to know that with the support of both the DPWH as well as the DBM under the Marcos administration, this year over 16 billion pesos was devoted to investment into tourism roads, and we hope to be able to increase that by the coming year. In terms of digitalization, with the trends in tourism where all over the world it's very easy to market your destination, very easy to access your destination, we feel that it's also very important to position the Philippines to be accessible digitally. And that is why, in collaboration with the Tourism Promotions Board, we're launching a tourist lifecycle app, which provides you all the vital information about all of our regions in the country, depending on the experience that you'd like to have. For example, if you're interested in kite surfing, you just click on that tourism product, and then it shows you all of the regions and provinces that offers that particular activity, and it provides you with all the necessary information as far as, and even including the available tour guides in the area that can help you with the curation of your itinerary. We're also very glad that with our collaboration with the DICT, we're able to power up our destinations in terms of improving connectivity. Considering as well the present trends of travelers, especially post-pandemic, people are now in search for more substantial, immersive, experiential, and meaningful and purposeful travel. And that, we feel, presents a prime opportunity for the Philippines, especially in terms of our cultural offerings, which is why we are also supporting our community-based tourism organizations. So far, we've given assistance to various CBTOs, as we call them. Recently, I was in Sultan Kudarat, in Socsargen, as well as in Zamboanga City. And in a few days, I'll be visiting Iloilo for purposes of giving assistance to our CBTOs. We firmly believe that the Philippines deserves a more primary position in the ASEAN and the world. On one hand, we are now the world's leading beach destination and the world's leading dive destination, according to the World Travel Awards. The world is telling us how beautiful our country is and how blessed we are in terms of our natural resources. We rank among only 18 mega biodiverse countries in the entire world. That is how rich the Philippines is in terms of our natural resources. But there are a host of challenges that we face, and that is why the approach of the Department of Tourism is really not only to focus on promotions alone, which we will continue to do, but to ask the difficult questions of addressing all of these developmental pillars that need to be improved in order that we can better position the country amongst our ASEAN neighbors.
What are those beaches you mentioned, the best in the country? The beaches, you said. We have
yes.
the best beaches in the world.
Yes. Well, of course, we have Cebu, which has a host of white sand beaches as well as diving destinations. We have Boracay, which is now perceived to be one of the sustainability models for tourism in the world because, of course, as well of the successes of the previous administration under President Duterte in terms of shutting it down and rehabilitating the same. And Palawan is now recognized most recently in the United Kingdom as the most desirable island in the rest of the world. So we have these beaches and we have other beach-based activities as well that are gaining global attention, such as surfing in Siargao. We also have surfing in La Union.
If I recall correctly, I referred to you one case.
Yes.
Where one beach there, a resident was complaining about being a cesspool, just like Boracay. Oh, what happened to that?
Well, we referred it to our regional office, which also works closely with DENR. We have an ongoing partnership with the DENR as far as the environment protection and sustainability of our tourism destinations. And in fact, we have proposed the formation of a National Sustainable Tourism Council that will be chaired by the DOT, the DENR, and the DILG for purposes of having a tripartite approach towards the regulation of tourism activities across our destinations. At the same time, however, we recognize the necessity of local government unit cooperation and participation that have primary jurisdiction over these destinations. And that is why our approach is really not to fight with our LGUs, but rather to work with them and to collaborate very closely with them in terms of developing their tourism destinations.
How do you do this with these local government officials?
You know, from my experience as a mayor,
Local executive.
it really starts with a dialogue, a conversation, a recognition of their jurisdiction, as well as the role that the national government plays in the exercise of their jurisdiction. Remember that LGUs are conferred with autonomy under the local government code. But at the same time, the national government is there, of course, to provide assistance and policy direction. And it is providing an alignment and a bridge to these LGUs and the national government that I feel would spell a success in terms of tourism development. Recognizing the role that our local chief executives play in the development of tourism across the country, we have launched the Tourism Champions Challenge, which is an initiative of the DOT in partnership with our infrastructure arm, the TIEZA, that encourages mayors from our over 1,400 municipalities and over 100 cities across over 80 provinces to submit tourism infrastructure proposals that are well in line with the Department of Tourism's 7 main objectives and 3 key strategies. After they submit the proposals, the DOT will come in to vet the proposals and improve it if need be, and the result of which would be ranking these proposals. We'll choose 5 from Luzon, 5 from Visayas, and 5 from Mindanao. And the first ranked will receive 20 million pesos in financial grants, followed by 18 million pesos, 15 million pesos, and so on and so forth, for a grand total of 180 million pesos that we are devoting to helping our local government units institute tourism development in their localities.
Nagiging mainit ang talakayan po natin. Babalik po ang Counterpoint makalipas ang ilang patalastas at pupuntahan naman natin.
Alas 5 ng umaga! Dito sa Net 25, 100%! It's your side!
Balikan na po natin ang ating Secretary of Tourism, Secretary Christina. Handa ka na ba sa mga personal question?
Handa na po.
Bigyan mo naman kami ng paglalarawan ng yung childhood days. How was it growing up here?
You know, I had
with a mother like Governor Gwen.
Yes, I had a very happy and simple childhood. Spent both in Cebu, where my mother is from, and in Ormoc, where my father is from. Yes, I was I'd like to think a well-rounded child in terms of the interests that I pursued. I loved being in school, of course, but at the same time, I was very active in sports, in leadership opportunities, in hobbies.
Music, dancing.
Yes.
Okay.
I actually learned to play the piano. I danced ballet. I was very much into the...
Maybe you can show us one of your...
You first. I was very much into the arts as well. And I loved to eat.
Oh,
and my dad made sure that to introduce me to all kinds of exotic foods growing up. So I had a very happy childhood.
How many siblings do you have?
I have 2 siblings. I'm the middle child of the family.
And how was your relationship with them?
Very well. My older brother Paolo, I'm very close to, because we always used to have a lot of adventures together. We played sports together. He has a lot of hobbies, and he's he's a very outdoorsy person. Introduced me to many of that. My younger sister Carissa, while our gap may be bigger than that of my brothers, I'm also very close to. Though she now lives in the United States.
Oh, now you have a very political family. Is that a basis for your entering politics?
you know, you'll be surprised
No.
to know
That?
that I actually did not have plans to enter politics originally because I have many members of my family who are in politics. I was very conscious of trying to carve out a name and an identity for myself, which is the reason why after graduating from college in Ateneo, I proceeded to law school, and subsequent my law school graduation, I worked here in Manila and lived on my own and worked for a law firm for many years and tried to build up my legal career. The irony though is despite the many efforts that I made to avoid being in politics, I ended up marrying a politician.
Oh.
Yes, Duke, my husband, who had just gotten elected mayor and was invited to the inauguration of my mother during her second term as governor. That's when we met. He was mayor of Iloan for 9 years, and when the time came for his last term, as I had been a very active first lady and pursued advocacies in education, women empowerment, as well as the protection of senior citizens, at the time, his barangay captains and leaders presented the prospect of running for mayor.
So pinalitan mo pala yung asawa mo
Yes.
as mayor.
Tama.
Kaya ka napasok doon.
Yes.
Eh, anong advice ba ng mom mo nung pumasok ka sa politika?
The
Eh, siya
very
matagal na nun, eh.
first advice that you gave me was actually follow your heart.
Oh, follow
Yes.
your heart. And
Yes.
what did your heart tell you?
My heart told me to choose public service above my own
okay.
personal career.
Now, ikaw, dahil maganda kang babae, have you
Salamat
considered
po.
joining beauty pageants? Before?
No.
Hindi ka sumali?
I can't say that I have considered that, although that is also a very wonderful platform for the young women of today to present their advocacies to
Advocacies.
the world.
Now, if you were not in public service, ano kaya? Practicing lawyer? Hanggang
I
ngayon?
think I would have continued my practice in law, in international arbitration, which I enjoyed very much, as well as in teaching, as I was a professor of law in law school in Cebu.
How many, do you have children? With,
I have 4 kids.
oh, apat ha?
Yes, yes.
Tell us about them.
Well, my eldest, Sophia, she's actually just turned 11 years old.
Oh.
And my second, his name is Liam, followed by
Si Liam Neeson niya.
yeah, followed by Franco, and our youngest.
Oh, Franco, my
yes.
favorite grandson, Franco.
Oh, it's
Anak ni
also
Paolo.
named Franco, yes. My youngest, his name is Xavier, though we call him Baby X. He's 1 year old.
Ngayon punta naman natin yung kabiyak mo. Si Duke ang sabi mo, di ba?
Duke, yes.
Hindi, kala ko, iba pala ang nasa isip kong asawa mo. Akala ko noon, ang pangalan ng asawa mo si George.
George?
Hindi pala.
Hindi.
Wala kang George sa
Sino
buhay
si
mo?
George?
wala kang George sa buhay mo?
Wala.
O wala, si Duke lang pala. Anyway, si Duke.
Nag-iisang Duke.
Oh, okay,
lang.
Duke talaga.
Oo.
Anong qualities ba na gusto mo sa kanya?
Well, unang-una, mabait talaga siyang tao.
Oo, mukha nga. Talagang mukha mabait. Oh.
Buutan kaayo. Swerte kay ko. Isip iyang asawa.
Talaga?
In Cebuano. No? He has a very kind and generous heart.
Mukha siyang karinyoso.
Very much so.
sabi ko
Very
na.
charming. And he has always made such great effort to help me build our family and our life together.
Tsaka gwapo.
Yes.
Gwapo, bagay na
Bonus.
bagay. Oo. No, meron kaming dito. Meron kaming segment na fan segment. Mga emojis.
all right.
We'll show you some pictures on the screen.
Oh.
I was using that as your reaction. Pwede ka magdagdag ng marami.
Okay.
Pwede isang tao, pwedeng lahat yan.
Sure.
Or you can add your remarks.
Napaka-millennial and Gen Z ng segment na to.
Number 1 photo natin is a lighthouse.
Oh yes, that is the lighthouse of Liloan. It is
okay.
one of the last few remaining functioning lighthouses all over the Philippines, and it has pegged Liloan as the light of the north.
So, ano yung emoji
Precisely
yung
because
bibigyan papakita mo?
we host that.
Love.
Love.
We go to photo number 2. Ito talagang love ito. Love of your life.
Tatlong love. I love you.
Tatlong love.
That's my husband, Duke.
Yan na, na-describe mo na siya, kaya we'll go to number 3 kagad.
Oh, yes.
Ito,
Love
ito.
pa rin. Ang akong inahan, si Governor Gwen Garcia.
Anong gusto mong katangian ng mother mo?
My mom taught me a very deep and immense pride of place and love for Cebu. And for me, that is her defining quality as a leader.
And number 4 is...
Of course, love din.
Tell us about her. How did you meet her?
Well, in 2016, when VP Sara was campaigning for President Duterte, she had visited our district, the 5th district of Cebu. And in Liloan, we were the only ones that welcomed her into our local government unit. My husband Duke was on his 3rd term as mayor at the time. And I had already lodged my candidacy for mayor of Liloan. So, pinakyat namin si then Mayor Sara sa munisipyo. Kumain kami ng chicken pork adobo from Titay's.
Okay.
And we had a very pleasant exchange and expressed, of course, our support for President Duterte. Subsequent to that, when we were both mayors already, in my 1st term, I proposed a sisterhood agreement with Davao and Liloan. And since then, she has always come to our aid and given us counsel. And Liloan has been a very good big sister to us. And during the 2022 presidential elections, she requested that I be her spokesperson.
Very wise decision.
Thank you. Salamat.
Next photo. Oh, yeah.
Also love.
Oath-taking yata. Oath-taking ba yan? Hindi.
Yes, that was the day of my oath-taking as Tourism Secretary in Malacanang. I'm very grateful to our President for the opportunity to serve as Secretary of Tourism.
And number 6 is... Yeah.
Lahat ng emojis ko, love.
Okay. Oo nga.
Because we love our indigenous communities and how they have been able to safeguard our Filipino identity through generations of Filipinos. In them live our cultural traditions that really deserve promotion, attention, and our full and unequivocal support. This photo, in particular, was taken during our Mindanao Tourism Expo, where we lodged the effort to reopen Mindanao to tourism, to be able to highlight their many beautiful destinations.
Secretary Christina, meron ka bang gusto sabihin sa mga viewers natin? Kasi alam mo, parang ang concentration, mabuti nga nabanggit mo kanina, mag-attract tayo ng foreign tourist. Pero baka nakakalimutan natin na yung ating mismong mga Pilipino ay magandang source ng turista, di ba?
Yes, that's true. And the numbers will bear us out. That domestic tourism is really the primary form of support for Philippine tourism in the country. In fact, in 2022, data shows that of the over 1.7 trillion in visitor receipts and revenues that we contributed to the economy, over 1.4 trillion of that was from domestic tourism. Kaya naman po, nagpapasalamat ako sa ating mga kababayan. Daghan kaayong salamat sa atong mga kaigsuunang Pilipino sa inyong suporta sa local nato nga turismo. And I encourage our fellow Filipinos to book that flight, that boat trip, to book that hotel, and to buy that pasalubong. Because in that way, you can help our Filipino tourism frontline workers and you help our Filipino families and help in nation building ultimately.
Alam mo kaya ako natanong yan? Kasi ilang beses ako nagpunta sa China. Wala ako nakikita masyadong putirong, puro local ang nagpupunta eh.
Yes.
Ganun sila kagaling doon.
That's true. And you know, we actually saw that for ourselves in Cebu. During the time when our borders were closed to people outside of the province of Cebu, it was really our local tourists from our various municipalities and cities that supported each other. So we saw the power of domestic tourism even as early as then. And that is something that we hope to be able to maximize here in the Philippines, which is why we're also very grateful to our president for having passed a proclamation that extended our long weekends in the Philippines, giving opportunities for our fellow Filipinos and their families to travel locally.
Listening to you and hearing you, mukhang talagang hindi nagkamali itong presidente na ginawa kang tourism secretary.
Salamat
Kasi
tayo.
yung departamentong yan parang nakakalimutan
Thank you. That means a lot to me. Salamat.
Maraming salamat for coming here and giving us the pleasure of your company. Thank
Daghan
you so
kayong
much.
salamat. Thank you so much. Thank you for your support.
Babalik po ang Counterpoint makalipas ang ilang patalastas.
Ano nga ba ang kasalukuyang estado ng Philippine sports? Nasaan tayo pagdating sa sports?
Other countries, naku, I compare it to the Philippines. We are backwards.
Pero sa regional scale, nakikita natin na may laban.
Sa gymnastics, kompleto naman ba ang suporta sa inyo?
We have to advance. Ang hirap-hirap.
Pero sa kabila ng naiuwi nilang medalya at pride sa bansa, nakukuha ba ng ating mga atleta ang tamang suporta? Mag-reality check tayo.
Panalo tayo pag together, walang talo pag together. Let's stand together sa Net 25.
This portion is brought to you by Toyota. Move your world.
Samahan ng mga magulang na may mga anak na with Down syndrome. Ito ang Little Brave Hearts, isang organisasyon na ang layunin ay tulungan ang mga batang may Down syndrome na maoperahan sa puso at iba pang kondisyon na may kinalaman dito. Alamin natin ang sakripisyo ng mga magulang at kung paano nila hinaharap ang mga hamon nito.
Little Brave Hearts is an organization formed by parents with kids with Down syndrome. The purpose really is to help other families with kids with Down syndrome. So we're trying to help them in any way that we can. Like my daughter, Leah, she had undergone open heart surgery. And there are kids also with the same condition as hers. And we wanted to help them in a way na to extend yung mga buhay nila. Si Leah, my daughter, she had her open heart surgery when she was 3 months old. She's still taking her medications 3 times a day. Her condition is complete AVSD. So ang plano namin ni Doc is to have another surgery.
2016 nang mabuo ang idea na support group na Little Brave Hearts. Kalaunay naging non-stop, non-profit organization na nagbibigay tulong at suporta sa iba pang magulang na may anak na may Down syndrome.
Yung time na nanganak ako, nakita ko siya na parang iba yung itsura niya. Alam ko na special siya. Pagkapanganak niya pa lang, para na siyang may sepsis, may ano siya sa dugo. 1 week na yon, pabalik-balik na kami sa clinic, in-injectionan siya sa Heplock para sa dugo. Ang private, mahal masyado doon. So napagdesisyon na namin na pumunta kami ng PGH. Pagkakita pa lang sa kanya, kinompay na siya agad. May pneumonia siya. Umabot kami ng halos 2 months kami sa PGH. Grabe, nakatubo talaga siya noon. Tatlong beses siya ni-revive sa PGH. Yung huling ni-revive siya, akala ko talaga wala na Yung LBH talaga ang tumulong sa akin. Kasi ano lang talaga kami, as in wala talaga. Nakita ko lang sa page na may isang group na talagang tumutulong sa ganun. Ayun, doon. Lumapit ako, nag-chat ako. Ayun, si Ma'am Sheila, pumunta siya sa ospital. Nagbigay ng tulong sa amin. Saka yung ibang LBH na group, sila yung pupunta sa ospital, tinutulungan talaga kami.
Meron po akong anak na si Miguel. Na-diagnose na po agad siya na may Down syndrome. Pero po nakitaan siya na wala siyang butas sa puwet, malaki yung tiyan niya, blue baby siya. Kaya at the age of 3 days old, naoperahan na po agad siya at nilagyan siya ng colostomy. Bago siya mawala, dapat nakaschedule na siya for operation. Aayusin na yung colostomy niya. Galing kami kasi outing noon, nag-swimming kami, tapos after namin umuwi kami, nilagnat na siya. Tapos doon sunod-sunod, dire-diretso na, nilagnat siya ng 1 week. Tapos hindi naman namin akalain na critical na pala yung lagay niya. Kasi nag-sore eyes na rin yung mata niya. Yun pala, yung mga signs nun is may leukemia na rin siya. So sobrang bilis nung time lang na binigay sa amin.
Nung nawala siya, siyempre sobrang bigat po sa akin. So parang parating iba yung pakiramdam nandiyan siya.
Masasabi ko lang na nandito kaming mag-asawa para sa buong Little Brave Hearts. Susuporta hanggat kaya namin.
Ang mga naging benepisyaryo noon, ngayoy nagbibigay tulong na rin sa iba pang nangangailangan.
Isa rin akong nanay na may anak na may Down syndrome. Si Jake po pinanganak 8 years ago. Nakita namin yung need na tulungan yung mga batang kailangang mapa-opera. Kasi karamihan sa mga batang may Down syndrome, 50% of them is may heart condition. For example, sa open heart surgeries, ang isasakot sa pinakamalaki po is 500,000 to 1.2 million for ABSD, one of the most complex form of heart condition for children with Down syndrome. Pinupul po yung funds, nakipag-partner po kami sa mga politicians na nagbibigay din po ng suporta sa amin sa Little Brave Hearts. As much as possible, we look for funds to support the health needs, yung nutritional, yung gatas bago ipa-opera, yung mga emergency kits para sa mga bata na, for example, nebulizer, oxygen tanks, habang hindi pa napapa-opera kasi bago po mapa-opera yung bata, prone po yan sa pagkakasakit, sa pneumonia, lagi po yan na-hospitalize. So, kailangan i-prepare din yung bata. Meron din po kaming halfway house sa Santa Cruz na nagkikater po sa mga batang galing sa probinsya na kailangan may matuluyan para hindi po hadlang sa kanila na pumunta dito sa Manila para makapagpa-check up at ma-opera, makita ng mga espesyalista.
Dahil sa sama-sama nilang pagsusumikap, natulungan ang iba pang magulang na gaya rin nila na may mga anak na may Down syndrome, tuloy-tuloy naman ang suportang ibinibigay sa kanila ng iba't ibang organisasyon tulad ng Mrs. Universe Philippines.
Malapit talaga ako sa mga bata, especially, syempre, mga bata, mga kababaihan. And nagkataon itong mga to, mga ating mga special children na talagang kailangan ng may mga pangarap sa buhay na kailangan din mapansin talaga. Dahil tulad ng ating mga guests ngayon from Little Brave Hearts na talagang bata pa lang ay gusto na maging beauty queen. Actually, ever since sila talagang sinusuporta ng Mrs. Universe Philippines.
Kasama ang Mrs. Universe Philippines at iba pang organisasyon na tumutulong at kumakalinga sa mga persons with disabilities. Ang Counterpoint ay naririto rin upang ibahagi ang inyong mga kwento na gigising sa kamalayan ng marami nating kababayan.
Tunay nga na walang hihigit sa pagmamahal ng isang magulang na gagawin ang lahat, madugtungan lang ang buhay ng anak. Salamat sa mga organisasyong kagaya ng Little Brave Hearts na nakakatulong sa mga pamilya ng mga children with Down syndrome. Mula sa Counterpoint, ipinagkakapuri namin kayo at mabuhay!
Pilipinas, 5 days na lang! Love!
Food effect and everything done! 5 days! 5 days!
Malaban eh.
Opo, seryoso, libre po ito, sir. Walang bayad to. Meron po dito, sir, oh. Kaya po yung pandin nyo! Hindi, ito po yung mga bagong uso ngayon na pandinis.
Ana, nandito na yung maliligaw mo. Kung kaya mo gustusan yung pangangailangan niya, okay lang sir, walang problema. Wala naman po sir. Hindi po ako yung sir. Ito, wala sir. Deliver lang po ako.
Ma'am, baka gusto niyo po magpa-antigen. Laki-laki niyan. Papasok mo sa akin doon. Nagre-relax kayo? Ayaw po ma'am, pasok po kayo. No, I don't want to cut. Magre-relax na si Shay. Can you massage me?
Wala kayong gagawin dito. Hindi kayo umalis na. Hindi kami nagpapatambay dito para lang magpa-aircon.
Sabay-sabay nating panoorin ang mga nakaka-surprise na reaction ng mga kauno natin dito sa Oh No! It's B.O. Biro Only.
It's B.O. Sa Net 25. Sa Net 25.
Capping the night, I will leave you with this line from renowned actor and environmental activist Leonardo DiCaprio. Travel and tourism can be one of the greatest forces for good in the world when done right. It is the power to protect nature, preserve culture, and uplift communities. Join me again next week as we engage with some of the country's most interesting, influential, and controversial personalities. I'm Salvador Sal Panelo, and this is Counterpoint.